we had a squad, and I was led by a sergeant. I didn't know any of the fellows that were in the squad except the machine gun crew. And we were stretched out in one long line, good many paces apart, very professional. But what we didn't do is check the outpost by, say, maybe a single man with cover going up and looking around first. We went up all at the same time, and before we got up to the tip of the outpost, where there was a trench line that we had dug, along with some sandbag foxholes that we had made, we found out they were occupied. And they had put one over on us and opened up on the middle of our line and killed a machine gunner right off. And those people behind me ran down to the bottom of the hill, and I, and the 5 people in front of me, went up to the trench line and stayed there. And then we commenced to play games with each other. And they had all the cover, being in our sandbag foxholes, and we had just merely the open trench, and the fellows that were down at the base of the hill managed to get in pretty good off the line of fire from the Chinese. And there was a machine gun above us, and we had passed a bunker full of, well, with at least 2 or 3 Chinese in it, with burp guns and a lot of grenades. So they were throwing up to us and shooting up to us, while the machine gun above us was shooting down and throwing grenades in too. So we had pretty busy, to say the least. And it was my job to try to radio in to the main line just what was happening, and let them be apprised of how many people of ours were hurt and how we stood, so that they might send us mortar fire for help, and even a tank we had at the top of the main line that could fire if he knew exactly where we wanted him to fire. So I was trying to direct that tank and let him know where he could fire near us and knock out those Chinese, and firing my 45 to keep them away too. So it kept me pretty busy. Well, I was hit with one grenade at the bottom of my feet pretty early. It went through my right foot, and I had also a beer can and an old Reader's Digest in my big back pocket that covers the whole back in the Marine Corps fatigues at the time. And I was saving that beer just in the Reader's Digest for the easy milk run that I was going to have. And that first grenade blew the can of beer, which I guess somebody said that if you give a tragedy enough time, it might become comical. And I thought about that beer can and how it had exploded by that first grenade, and how seriously thought I had been wounded. But as I mentioned at one time through another reporter, that I found out it wasn't so much blood as it was bud. I don't know if it was bud, but I thought that sounded pretty good. But that kept me from running around too much, so I pretty much stayed in the one spot and tried to radio back as much as I could. I did manage to fire back down. I could stand on my left foot and fire back with my 45. A grenade came into the trench line, and I covered the grenade with my right side and leg doubled up, which I think was pretty much a no-brainer. I didn't feel like I was going to do this to really be that heroic. Nothing like that ever entered my mind. But maybe perhaps I didn't have a handy sandbag, and I decided I would be it. Because if you do stifle a grenade with something like a handbag or sandbag, that it will stop the massive explosion. So I was quite effective with my hit. Well, it spun me around pretty good, but and really stung pretty good. But I got out my own bandage that I had on my hip, my belt, and managed to put it around my right leg. But I didn't know how severely my hip was hurt, because I really couldn't feel it that much. It had severed a nerve, so that the pain was not that crucial afterwards, and the numbness took over. The idea was to try to knock out the Chinese bunker below us, so that maybe we could run back to the safety of the cover down at the base of the hill. We couldn't do it from where we were, and so I was hoping that maybe the tank could. And this took quite some time, maybe a few hours, before he finally felt that I was definitely true in what I was saying, that I was a Marine and not a Chinese infantryman, and that I wanted to knock out a bunker that was containing our enemy. And after a few rounds of, he fired one below and one too high, and the third one was right on. And I asked him to fire one more to make sure. Two fellows were about to pick me up to carry me down the hill when he fired another one. Apparently he saw some movement in there, and I didn't expect that fourth round to come. And it knocked out the one fellow's shoulder and the other fellow in the hip. But their legs were still pretty good, so I had asked them or told them that they should try to get down on their own as fast as they could, and I'd try to take care of myself. Prior to that, I should mention that two other fellows carried one fellow that was shot straight through the chest, and they took him down. So that kind of left me all by myself. And then afterwards, when it seemed to me that it was clear, I managed to crawl down the bottom of the hill myself on my hands and knees, and got the radio message that the tank was going to blast everything on the top of the hill, all the bunkers and anything that looked like would give the Chinese good cover, which it proceeded to do right over my head. And I crawled on my hands and knees to a Marine lying with his rifle aimed up the hill, who I thought had been covering me, but he was dead, and I didn't know it. I talked to him. He wasn't reacting. And then I managed to get around into an area that wasn't in anybody's line of fire. And I think I passed out there. I really don't remember. I was in a wash that eroded the dirt from that fingertip, and I did recover enough to know that somebody was picking me up in a stretcher, and they carried me back to the main line.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to help us produce more compelling historical content like this, please like, comment below, and share this video with fellow history buffs. And of course, be sure to subscribe to help keep history happening.